Distinguished Senator Oshomole.
My name is Adams Aliu Eric Oshomole. I represent the great, creative, and highly educated people of Edo North in Edo State. I rise to support the motion very ably and competently and timely moved by distinguished Senator Karimi. And with your permission, I would like to, in addition to seconding, I would like to, Mr. President, that you grant me a few minutes to speak in favor of this motion.
Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe listening to the well thought out motion, it just reminds me of one of the problems we face in this country. A culture of hadochism. We wake up, we think of an idea, we seek to implement without preparation. In every other civilized part of the world, an introduction of a new subject or a new tax, anything, the citizens are put on notice that over the next 2 years, 3 years, this shall take off. During this period, government has responsibility to do homework. In this case, first asking the question, do we have qualified teachers enough to teach in every secondary school across the length and breadth of Nigeria? Mr. President, I dare say that evidence does not exist. Have we prepared the laboratories, all the necessary equipment to make this kind of subject possible? Mr. President, that evidence does not exist. Have parents been informed to prepare the minds of their children to take on board these additional subjects? Mr. President, that evidence does not exist. So the Minister of Education can't wake up overnight and say, from June, you shall be examined for a subject that you probably have not been taught, or you don't even have people to teach it. I do not have any iota of doubt about the noble intention of the ministry. But the intentions are not enough. We must be seen to do sufficient homework to enable us carry out what obviously, if well coordinated, will be in the national interest in view of the fact that the world is now moving increasingly to knowledge-driven, computer-based, and we are in a digital world in which even artificial intelligence has become the theme of the day. I am also not sure that in introducing these new subjects, the old one should completely be deleted. I want to borrow from the preemptive statement of Chairman of Appropriation by appropriating part of his unrecorded statement, because the motion hadn't been seconded by the time he made those statements. Therefore, I hereby appropriate his words to say that, Mr. President, we need to invite the Minister of Education to engage our relevant committees, the Committee on Education, the Committee on Third Fund, all relevant educational committees, and to persuade the committee with verifiable evidence as to what is on ground to enable these courses to take place. We don't plan in a manner that will cause embarrassment to our young ones, and even to us as parents of children who are in school. I therefore urge my colleagues to look at just two things here. Know whether or not it is desirable to teach, but whether or not proper homework has been done to enable this subject to be taught in a manner that an average child can be fairly advised to be examined on a subject for which he has not been properly taught. There is nothing wrong in saying, but in 2 years' time, this shall be compulsory and mandatory subject. And during those periods, government itself would have done its own work, and this exercise can take off smoothly without any impediment. We must avoid the culture of ad hoc approach to issues that require systematic planning, budgeting, preparing the minds of young people and the not so young to expect that over the next X period, this subject shall become compulsory. I therefore second the motion, and I want to commend Senator Karime. I didn't know that, busy as you are with this issue you face in Kogi, that you have time to even have this depth of knowledge about these issues. Even we who are in the city here, I didn't even know that they are about to introduce this. So I want to thank you, and I plead with my colleague that we should support this motion in total by inviting the Minister of Education and all his officers to speak to us on these issues. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Idiat Oloranti.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, I rise to support this motion. However, I would like to inform members that before the Ministry of Education can take a very serious decision like this, there is a Council of Education in Nigeria. And that Council of Education comprises of all the commissioners of education in all the states in Nigeria. And as much as possible for this to be introduced by the ministry, by the federal ministry, they must have the concurrence of all the ministers of education, the commissioner, pardon me, in all the states in Nigeria. And to this effect, I want to believe that it will do us well to thoroughly investigate this motion before us. And not only this motion, not about these 3 courses alone. A new curriculum is being proposed as well. It may also be an opportunity for us to ask further questions about all of this. So members, and as well as the general public, can be aware of what is going on and why this is taking place. But unilaterally for the Minister of Education to take a position like this, I doubt it as much, and as such, I recommend that it should be invited and the issue should be thoroughly investigated. Thank you, Mr. President.
Swing Senator Olamilekan.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President, for giving another opportunity to speak on this all-important. Mr. President, as I've said earlier on in my earlier remark before, you direct that the motion be moved formally. I can observe that the new courses that have been introduced according to the body of this motion, they are more of practical subject than theory. Because if you look at subjects like cosmetology and beauty, fashion design and garment making, livestock farming, computer hardware and GSM repairs, solar, photovoltaic or installation and maintenance, and horticulture and crop production. According to the body of this motion, most of these subjects are practical subjects. And the fear as expressed by the mover of the motion, Mr. President, I'm in total support of the fears that if students who have no prior knowledge of all these subjects will be examined in the 2026 West African Examination Council, it calls for concern, serious concern. And it is expected that the Minister of Education has questioned not only to be theoretical in their approach to studies, also being practical, which is a work in this singular cause for concern, and I'm of the opinion.
Anybody opposed to this motion? You have information, Senator Ireti Ngibe.
But I have an additional, a great shame where we are struggling to get into the 21st century in terms of computers, the relevant agencies, studies, civil education is also move that we should discuss.
And for you to, at this stage, remove computer education, computer studies from the examination board of WAEC is very curious. I think it will be a disservice to the nation. And it will muddle up the education. I'm saying it's important to bring the minister to the committee to come and brief us, and the committee can look into this. There has to be a proper investigation so that it's not even rumor. So let us bring the minister and also even the chairman of the council on the education, like investigation, to be sure that this information is even true. And then if the information is true, then we redirect them and that they have introduced. So it also exempt those children, who are slated to write senior secondary certificate examination in May, June 2026, and say, that is have it.
You know, to hear from them before we go further.
I think so.
Because if we pass this prayer, there was the essence of calling them. We need to be briefed. Yes.
And the head of WAEC.
Yes.
To appear before the Senate Committee on Education, and thereafter they will revert to the General House.
Exactly.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Any seconder, Senator?
Yeah, Mr. President. I second the motion, but also further to say these two prayers, education and other relevant committees to engage you on the matters arising from this motion.
Yes.
But if you look at prayer 1, you are giving him an instruction. If you look at prayer 2, you are also giving him an order. So what you need to do, these two prayers at now are not necessary, because we said we should invite him, call him, ask questions, and arising from his answers, then we'll bring back the recommendation of the committees to the
is one you have to come by way of motion for rescission. Yes, you have to come by way of motion for rescission. So the prayer 2, that the guidelines by WAEC be implemented commencing. So I think that one we can go with the Deputy Senate President's motion. And it doesn't mean that you will not still go back to prayer 1 when you are meeting with the committees on education and have a dialogue on the issues raised in this motion. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So let me quickly thank distinguished Senator Karimi, and to say that these are very weighty issues, and that it's also preemptive, so that we do not have mass failure in WAEC in the 2026 examinations. So I thank you for bringing this up. I thank my colleagues for their contributions, and I want to say that the chairman of the Senate Committee on Education and all relevant committees in the educational sector should immediately invite the ministers, and they should look into these issues and report back to this Senate within 2 weeks, so that it will help us to plan, because we can't allow this to enter January. I believe that these are issues that should be dealt with before we enter into the new year. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. We have 2 committees and secondary.
Is within the purview purely
is he here?
Basic secondary, 1 committee.
But what about a committee on tertiary?
No.
Okay.
It's called Committee on Education Basic.
It has come with the relevant agencies so that we can have a more robust engagement, because the issues are very serious, and to revert to the Senate within the next 2 weeks, so we don't end up Buhari.
My name is Senator Neda Imason. Under Order 41 and 50, have your indulgence to please allow me to come under this Order 41 and 51.
Well, what was the topic?
It's about the compliance with procurement and local content laws in Nigeria.